nonprofits asking for assistance with things. And to lead us off today, we have Pocatello Regional Transit, Skylar Bybee and friend. So go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Commissioners. It's always a pleasure to come, and we've always appreciated your support. So thank you for having us today. My name is Skylar Bybee. I'm with the City of Pocatello. I'm the Public Transit Director. And then, so we're also the Public Transit Department in the city, but we're known as Pocatello Regional Transit. So if you can wrap your head around all of that. But yes, we service all of Southeast Idaho, all the rural counties. And so thank you for allowing us to be here.
My name is Lori Bauer. I work for Southeast Idaho Council of Governments. We work with PRT to do all of their mobility management. So we do their education and outreach, teach people about the bus system, teach people how to ride the bus, that kind of thing.
Great.
Yeah, and I always try to invite Lori to come with us because she just plays that crucial role of education and teaching people about the bus system, that it exists, that it's here, how to ride, and all of the above. And so does a lot of travel trainings and different things in all the areas that we serve. And so they play a crucial role and great advocate for us. So I guess I'm not really sure what you would like us to report on, so maybe I'll just start with, was there any questions with the items that we submitted for you for review?
No, but just a quick question. How does our system compare to the bus system in Idaho Falls and or Twin Falls?
Yeah, so to give you a little bit of background, so our agency, our department has been in existence now for over 50 years. Maybe not as a department, but as a public transit entity. We've been with the City of Pocatello since the 80s now. But with that said, we operate in 7 counties, where Twin Falls, it's called Twin Falls Transit. They used to be operated by Trans 4. It was through the university. They primarily did Medicaid transportation and then some general public, and then they decided not to do public transit anymore a few years ago. And Idaho Falls used to have what was called TRIPTA, and that also went under, if you will, and so now they have what's called GIFT. It's the Greater Idaho Falls Transit. Both of those systems operate a microtransit system, which is essentially a door-to-door, kind of like an Uber, if you will. It's really the best avenue for them at this point when they're starting from the ground up, again, is to do that kind of service. The big difference that we have with our agency is that with them, GIFT can only operate within the boundaries of Idaho Falls. They don't go into Ammon or anywhere outside of that, and that's the same with Twin Falls Transit. They only operate within the boundaries of Twin Falls. Our system, of course, we're all in Southeast Idaho, so we operate in the 7 counties. Here in the urban side, we have our fixed route system, which is the traditional bus stop to bus stop, open to the general public, and then we have our door-to-door service, which is through a certification process for those that are disabled, that it's also offered to our seniors for 60 and older that can ride as a suggested donation, and then we also provide the Medicaid transportation. Outside of the Pocatello-Chubbuck area is our rural program, and that is a door-to-door service. You could almost somewhat compare it to a microtransit like what Twin Falls and GIFT is, but it's open to the general public, unlike Pocatello and Chubbuck here with the door-to-doors. But we service all the 7 counties of Southeast Idaho, and that's open to the general public. We're the only agency in Idaho that offers all the traditional, everything that is offered essentially through the Federal Transit Administration, which is primarily where we receive our grant funding from. We're also the 2nd largest agency in Idaho outside of Boise. We don't like to compare ourselves to Boise because that's a whole nother world. But we're the 2nd largest agency here in Idaho. So we've been around a while, and we have a lot of services and different options for individuals needing that.
Thank you. Is your ridership growing in the rural areas, or has it been pretty constant?
Yeah, when we had COVID, and you may recall from the past years when we reported, boy, COVID just really, we took a hit there, and so did every agency throughout the United States. We've seen a constant increase from that time. Thankfully, we didn't take a huge hit during that time, but we did take a hit. But we have seen a steady increase in ridership as we go year after year.
And then what parts of the county do you serve? Do you go to Lava, to Downey
Yeah.
on a regular basis, or?
We primarily go through McCammon, Lava pretty regularly on a daily basis. We do have service in Stone, Idaho, if you know where that is. If you'll drive past it and not know it.
Oneida.
Oneida County, yes. So we do have service there. When we have a shopping route that it will come into Pocatello, if we have enough people riding, we'll stop into places, Downey and so forth, if there's anyone that's needing rides to come down to Pocatello. But primarily the services that we've been providing is Ingham, McCammon, and Live Hot Springs.
Great.
You used to have a driver in Soda that used to bring a lot of those seniors over to this direction. You still do that a little?
Yeah, and that's the bus that's usually passing through, and as they're bringing Medicaid clients, we're popping into Lava and McCammon.
Okay.
But yeah, we have local driver over there, and then with Carlene over in McCammon there, I should say Mayor Hall, now that things have kind of come to fruition, and hopefully we'll have that community center, we've been in conversations with them about staging a bus there. And even having a local driver so that we can offer those services, right there. So, but yeah, we still have drivers in Soda Springs that go back and forth and passing through. So yeah.
So what is your ask this year for budget?
We've always had the odd number. I think you brought it up last year. We've always had the 10,300 that the county's done for many years, and I honestly don't know the last time we ever even asked for an increase with that. This year, if the council, the commissioners, if you felt appropriate, we'd like to ask for 12,000, bump that up a little bit. Again, I don't know the last time we ever asked, so from the 10.3 to the 12, and of course, it'd just be what you as commissioners feel appropriate with that.
Okay. And again, I'm just looking at your numbers, and the ridership looks strong. Looks like you've been growing very well in the rural routes.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Jeff, you knew Jeff's in the hospital.
I did not. Oh, yes, I did know that.
Okay.
Yes.
Your Blackfoot
Yes.
driver.
Yeah, we had just
So-
found out some more information on him
Okay.
yesterday, so yeah.
I was just talking to his wife.
Oh, were you?
She's my
Okay.
sister. Jeff's my brother-in-law.
I didn't know that. Yeah, no, we had just got word yesterday, and you probably know Sheldon.
Yeah,
Yeah, McKenna.
McKenna.
He had reached out and give us some more information. So
he's the Elders Club president.
yes, yeah, he's been filling. Jeff's such a well-rounded driver. Of course, he works here in Pocatello. He covers in Blackfoot, and so. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that he's doing well. Sounds like that was a real close call. So
As I said, they still don't know what they're doing.
yeah, yeah.
I have to say, the years that I've dealt with, in fact, I remember when you became the director there, had great opportunities. What you guys do for, especially not just Pocatello, but the rural areas, you're the only access to a lot of those people
Yeah.
to get to shopping, to medical, or the on-demand here as well as in the rural. I applaud your efforts, and hopefully some of these other counties are paying attention, because I watched when TRIP went under.
Yeah.
It just was never designed as well as you guys are. So
Yeah.
thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. I always tell everyone we're not the perfect system, but we're trying hard to make all the improvements that we can, and as they come to fruition. So.
I will say that I haven't seen the trolley in the Incan Parade for a while on the 4th of July.
I don't think it's been requested. You're right. I don't think we've had it over in Ingham for some time now.
Just say.
Brad used to drive it into McCammon every year.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
Dave drove it in Incan.
Yeah, American Falls usually does it. The senior center will put all their seniors on there, and so they usually will have that in American Falls. But I don't think we've done the others for some time now.
Maybe we'll have to take the commissioners on a route.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Well, and I should mention, I know I've mentioned it in the past, but if as commissioners, if you ever have a meeting that you're needing to go and view something that's in the county or so forth, know that we aren't allowed to do, well, to the extent we're not allowed to do charter service, but if you have an official meeting where you're needing to go to or something, we can offer that at no cost for elected officials, essentially. And so if you ever have that, please reach out, and it's assuming we have the resources.
Maybe
we
down
can
at the
accommodate
fair. Could you wrap potatoes?
that. Ooh, well, maybe we can get creative.
Well, again, I would like to echo, appreciate all you guys do, and it's nice to hear that we have something that beats both Idaho Falls and Twin Falls, and that you serve such a broad area, so thank you for that. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Do you still have a good contract with SU?
We do, yeah.
I mean, that really is a bread and butter route, that, what
Mhm.
you guys do.
So ISU, boy, that used to be one of our major routes that we had. We used to have almost 4 buses that were doing just ISU there. And then whenever they changed the parking at Holt Arena and started charging, like any good student, you're going to go somewhere else where it's free.
Yeah.
And anyways, our ridership really tanked after that. And so now we only have one route that serves up there, and it's, it accommodates what's there now. So,
We may need to talk to the president up there, because that really,
yeah.
it really made a difference for those ISU students.
Yeah, and what I will say too is that ISU really, they went back and reevaluated and found, that I think that it wasn't a value of them to charge up there, because really no one was parking up there anyways. And so they actually brought back the free parking here, I think 2 years ago now it was, and I might be off there, but they brought that back. And so we're slowly seeing a steady, I won't say steady, but we're seeing a slow increase of students that are riding again. But we're also looking at extending services up to the new Eames building that they have, and
Okay.
they have interest of more service up there, because that's a pretty big disconnect from the rest of the campus.
Big time.
A lot of departments up there.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
if we can get a few of them cars off of that busy street and
Yeah.
maybe not hit so many people in the crosswalks and everything
Yes.
else, the service that you make readily available, I think it's time that we look back into that a little bit. Not just the cost, it's just a great service.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, appreciate you, we'll let you know.
Okay. And then I don't know if you'd like us to leave any information. I've got some of the pamphlets for Bannock County and rider
Yeah,
guides.
just leave them down
we've
at
left in
the
desk.
office.
What's that?
Leave them down at our office with Christie, that'd be perfect.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, Skylar.
Well, thank you for having us.
I see you. Aid for Friends, Michelle and company.
Trying to say friends.
I wasn't sure.
Not sure.
Good
Oh,
morning.
good morning.
Sorry, I'm so nervous. I don't know why I get so nervous.
Well, Ken's kind of scary, so I get it. Go ahead and state your name for the record, and then the floor
I'm-
will be yours.
Michelle Paletti with Aid for Friends. I'm the executive director. This is Tammy Moore. She's my shelter manager. And then this is Jessica Buckley. She's my grants administrator, programs manager, a lot of stuff, so.
Duties as assigned.
Yes. I've only done one of these, so I'm kind of still new at this. And I appreciate this opportunity to be able to present to you. I'm assuming that you got the information.
We have it.
and All of that, so the money that we're requesting is the same as previously, the 30,000, to use towards our shelter operations and management of that building. The most that we receive from federal grants for that is 38,000. That's the most that HUD would approve for us. I questioned that as to why, because to run a shelter that's open 365 days a week, 24 hours a day, 38,000 doesn't cover salaries, operation, maintenance, utilities, insurances keep going up, and so any other revenue that we can obtain is greatly appreciated for that service of that building. We do apply for other non-federal grants as well to supplement that. With the stuff that's going on in the legislative right now, it's kind of concerning as to if we're going to continue to get those HUD funding. So we're trying to broaden where we can apply for other funds. That's why Jessica will look to see if there's other grants out there to supplement. The opening of the new shelter in 21, that was during COVID, so we were receiving extra COVID funds during when BJ was the executive director, but those COVID funds were exhausted just before I became the executive director, so now we're trying to manage the new shelter without those COVID funds and back to just the basic grants that we receive, so.
So where did most of your clients come from?
From a variety of places. Some of them are regular community members that, you know, have been in and out of the shelter. We have seen a huge increase of people from out of state. Montana, like right now we have 3 people just from Montana. I'm seeing Texas, I'm seeing Arizona, I'm seeing Oklahoma. Just, we're getting a lot of people from out of state. A lot of new faces. This year has been the year of brand new faces. So we're definitely seeing the increase, not just because they're coming from out of state, but also because of the housing crisis and people buying out properties and, you know, raising the rent, and then they no longer could afford it, and they've never been homeless before, but now because of these circumstances they are first-time homeless. So a lot of the new faces are from that too.
So how do people find out about the facility? Do you know?
Well, one thing about homeless is there's great word of mouth. They talk to each other about every resource there is in town. But also we try to keep up on our Facebook. We, just like we share with other agencies, the other agencies are sharing our information. We work very closely with other agencies around us. We work closely with the Crisis Center. A lot of times they're going through there first, and we get them straight from the Crisis Center. We work closely with Family Services Alliance, so any domestic violence cases, they come right to us. We work closely with SICA. If their veterans shelter is not open, they send them to us if they don't have any beds. So we're working with the veterans too.
And the whole facility is open now?
Yes.
We also do a lot of community outreach. We attend a lot of the community events and have a table there, so we pass out our information on our programs in our shelter as well.
What is the long term? I'm looking through your thing here, and you had some long-term residents, or that's not quite the right word. I'm trying to find it again.
What's your maximum stay?
90 days.
90
So
days.
it is a 90-day shelter program, which includes, you know, the case management once a week, and of course their meals and free laundry, because we have the washers and dryers there, and and we don't kick them out during the day. We do close our sleeping areas from 9 to 3, and that's just in hopes that they'll be motivated to do something during the day. And so from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday, they cannot just sleep in their beds all day. They have to be up, but we don't kick them out of the shelter. They could be in their TV room, they could be in the dining area, so they could still stay inside the shelter. They just can't sleep all day unless they have a doctor's note saying that they need to.
Yeah. It was permanent supportive housing. That's
That's a different program.
okay. What is that?
Oh, yeah, just a totally separate program. Are you looking maybe at the destinations, the permanent, the
This is just your annual report,
oh, and the
service
annual
and
report.
statistics?
Got it. Yeah, so that's one of the many programs that we run. You asked where they find out about us. I mean, somebody asks about who does homeless services. It's Aid for Friends, because, you know, our doors have been open for 40 plus years at this point. But permanent supportive is, we have 11 units around town that we own, and then we put people in there who have disabilities. The head of the household has disabilities. They've been chronically homeless, which means that they've spent at least a year out of the past 3 years homeless. And we can put that family in there, subsidize their rent so they're only paying 30% of whatever their income is, work on getting some long-term goals, and eventually they can stay there as long as they want to. That's why it's called permanent supportive. You know, the goal for all of those folks is to have them move on.
Okay, thank
But
you.
yeah, that's one of the exit destinations that we have
Okay.
for some of the folks in the shelter.
That's what I meant by long term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, oh, okay.
I just couldn't remember where I'd saw
Right.
that. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of different programs
Okay.
to help out with the,
Do you get-
and they all work together too with the shelter. So.
Do you get many that come from the jail?
No? I don't
Yeah.
think so. From the jail?
No, now, so before, it used to be, well, at least what we thought, it was a HUD regulation that you cannot come into the shelter within 24 hours after getting out of jail. Well, after questioning that for a while, I've learned that that's not true. So I work very closely with drug court, and then we just have people, and we have case managers from outside that I work closely with too, that their client just got out of jail, they need placement, or sometimes they can't get out unless they're guaranteed some kind of placement. So I am working with them on that too.
One of the saddest things in the world when people do leave jail, there is absolutely no place for them to go.
Right, and that was the issue I was seeing, and which is why I investigated it more, because I said it just doesn't make sense for them not to have a place to go to right when they get out.
Okay.
It just didn't make sense to me. So I talked to Intermountain Fair Housing, looked through all the HUD, and I could not find where that was a rule. I kind of married into that rule and never questioned it. But once I started investigating, I was like, no, that's not even a thing. So we took that off, and now I'm working closely with drug court and the various case managers that work with clients just getting out of
Okay.
jail.
Thank you for that.
I apologize. I thought you said money. You could get money from the jail.
Many.
No.
Many.
Many, I'm sorry.
Okay. We don't get any money.
Because I know that was sometimes part of the thing where they would even take them out of the jail and put them in that cooperative housing. As
Oh,
well.
that was back, yeah, so we haven't had the transitional housing program for
Okay.
probably 10 years. That's what transitioned it into permanent housing.
Yeah.
So just the
It's a great idea, a great
Grant.
philosophy, you know, because they're going to go back to their friends. They're going to go back to
Right.
the same people.
yeah.
So it's a
Yeah, we did.
multi. Can I ask you a question, and maybe you have a quick answer for it? And I see what you get from Bannock County. Why is the city of Pocatello such a small number? Or are you getting other service? Maybe you're getting other services in lieu of money? I guess maybe you can't answer that, but
We also would
I'm
like
just
to know.
hoping.
I would like to know that too.
I'm hoping there's a hidden somewhere but that seems where City of Pocatello, we're here, why is the City of Pocatello not investing more? And I do know the building you're at, there's some history there, but I look at that and I was hoping maybe you had some answers why.
I've asked that
why the
question
disparity?
too.
Yeah, we've been pushing for more
Okay.
for a long time. So we have a couple of sources from the city, right?
The
in addition to the
CDBG, yeah, I applied for the CDBG grant, but that specifically just covers the supportive services case manager salary at the shelter.
But that
and
comes
our
more
PRT.
state funding too, doesn't it?
That's federal.
That federal,
The
so it's not
CDBG.
Pocatello coffers?
It's not, it comes through
So,
Pocatello.
okay.
Yeah, and then.
Yeah, they
Yeah, that's a
administer
federal
that,
grant.
but
Right.
anyway, I just
But they just lowered
looked
that.
like there was a disparity there, so anyway,
Yeah.
thank you for answering that.
Yeah,
Well, I also wanted to mention that, you know, the CDBG funding that covers our case manager at the shelter, you were talking about how, yeah, it takes a multifaceted approach to get them back on the right path, right? We can't just put a roof over their head for 90 days and then just send them out in the world and say, good luck, you know? That's what we have the case manager there for. And that is really what makes the shelter different from just putting a roof over somebody's head, is that we're working to try and get their problem solved, trying to get them set up with employment, training, applying for disability, getting connected with substance use counseling, mental health counseling, yeah, all of
And
these
permanent
things.
housing.
Yeah, and then applying for housing, and a lot of them, the applications are overwhelming and it's expensive, and so helping them to budget. I mean, there's so many things that goes into helping these folks that if we want to increase the number of people, which as you see in your charts, we have a projected record year this year, an increase of about 9% is what that works out to. That's going to take more person-to-person care in order to get these folks out the door and to permanent housing. We don't want to send them out the door back into a homeless situation. We want to send them out better than we have before. And that's why we work together with all these other agencies, SECA, like she mentioned, the Crisis Center. We have our other programs at Aid for Friends, Family Services, Bannock Youth, all of these to try and make sure that we have that, you know, personal touch.
Thank you.
Any questions, Commissioner?
No more.
Okay, well, again, we're at the beginning of the budget season, and thank you for coming in. And your request is, like it was last year, 30,000-ish. We'll let you know where we're at.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Do you have a plaque down there for Barbara hanging somewhere?
We've got some good plans in the works, possibly naming the building the
Oh
shelter
boy, she was there forever.
after, yes, 25 years.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's in the works of possibly
Okay.
naming the building after her.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Look forward to that next year.
Thank you.
Valley Mission, come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Carl Pettit with Valley Mission. This is one of our board members, Tim Bridges, who is here to evaluate me. Just kidding. I don't know how the format works today, so I'll let you guys
Well,
kind of guide me.
You've introduced yourself, so the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how many people you serve and
Yeah,
where you go from there.
sure. So Valley Mission, currently we're operating our food pantry out of the First Baptist Church building. And we're serving about 180 to 200 plus families a week in our food pantry service. That's how we all began in 2010. We started with that food pantry model, and since then, 2017, realized the need was bigger than just food pantry, and we decided we needed to do more. So we began to operate a warming shelter, began to do a little bit of case management, realized we needed a space to do that. We also needed a separate 501c3. We wanted to separate ourselves from First Baptist Church because that does hinder funding resources, that does put a different cloud that people want to support. We understand that, so we started a standalone nonprofit then, and have since acquired the old Metro Gym building over on Arthur, and we have begun construction on that. We demolished that in 2021 with a ton of volunteers from this amazing community of ours. It was incredible. We spent, I think, a total of $25,000 to demolish the entire building, and most of that was mold remediation and tearing down sheetrock walls that are 135 pounds per panel. So we hired somebody to do that. Since then, we've had the building framed completely. We've raised and spent about $1.3 million since the inception of this to get this facility open. The main purpose of Valley Mission will not just be a food pantry, it'll be a full-service rescue mission. So on the main floor, we will operate our food pantry, which will move over this summer. We're hoping for no later than this fall. There'll be a full-service laundromat for the community to access that will also serve as a training ground for another part of our program. Medical clinic, we'll have two 9-bed spaces for emergency shelter. We'll have a commercial kitchen and dining area as well as office spaces for our staff. On the upstairs level is kind of the heart of our program, our transformational living program. So somebody that's desiring to get their lives back on track would commit to our 6-month program where they would come in and work from the ground up to get solid. As I was hearing Jessica talk about, they want to get people through the 90-day program and into success. Sometimes that doesn't always happen, so we would actually be a recipient, a feeder from Aid for Friends. They would go through their 90 days here, and then we'd get them into our program and continue their training so we can get them stable. This space would have 16 dorm-style rooms where they would live in 24/7, and they would get all kinds of training from not only job, career, and coaching, but counseling, mental health. There'll be relationships, lots of relationship stuff, conflict management, conflict resolution. There'll be a spiritual component. There'll be the mental health and recovery, I think I just said that, and a ton of other things. That's all being done by a collaboration of, right now, 17 different nonprofits working together to make those things happen, as well as volunteers and staff from Valley Mission. The space would also have upstairs a conference room and 5 office spaces that we would actually rent out to local agencies to use that space, because we want our guests and our residents in the program to literally walk down the hall, get their coaching, their counseling, their training, and then get on with their life. So that's 2 of those spaces are currently reserved. We just got them framed. So right now we're kind of in a holding pattern as far as construction goes. We have committed as an organization to not spend more than we have. So we've got an amazing contractor who works with us, and we say, hey, we've got X amount of dollars, get this piece done. When that's done, he's paid, we wait for the next phase. Currently, we're waiting on the final bid for our lovely expensive fire sprinklers, which we know that's not cheap. And that bill actually came in $50,000 more than we expected, so we're raising funds for that. In addition to what we do there, we also do a program called Street Reach. Every Monday and Wednesday, we send a team out to our homeless encampments, parking lots, wherever the homeless folks are, We take simple supplies, like in the summer times, there'll be some food items, extra water, sunscreen, those kinds of things. Socks are always a need. We just try to engage with folks who are camping, who are living in their vehicles, who are living under bridges or down by the river, which is where we have a huge encampment currently. And we try to build a bridge, because a lot of the folks that are on the streets just don't trust agencies. They've been broken, they've been hurt, that happens. So we're building this bridge of trust to try to bring them in so that we can get them into our facility once they're open. We also offer once a month, beginning in June, we'll be offering a program called RAMP, which is Remote Access Mobile Partnership. And what we do on the third Wednesday of each month, the park over here by the Union Pacific building, by the underpass, there's that park area there. We set up a space there where we have, currently we've got 9 different agencies that'll be on site. So everything from Veteran Services, the free clinic, we have someone from the health department bring a PA, we have a traveling veterinarian. So what we've discovered with this community is they won't go into a building, but they will go to a place that's open and they'll get the resources there. So we'll have all these agencies there, they can go and get whatever services they need, and then they can go back to whatever they're doing. That helps us build that bridge even stronger. So as we get further on down the line, once our facility is open, then they will feel a little more trusting in us to help care for them. I was just having a conversation this morning with somebody who said, well, who's on the street? Aren't they all just drug addicts? Aren't they all struggling with mental health? Aren't they all these different things? 2 weeks ago, I took a detective from Fort Hall Police with us on our street reach on a Monday. They were looking for the young girl that was out, that was missing and such. And we had some questions about an encampment. And he had been around, but he'd never been on a reach with us. And so as we got to this encampment, he was, first of all, surprised. He goes, I didn't know this existed in Pocatello. We don't see the homeless in Pocatello. No, because most of the population we encounter on the streets is pretty intelligent. Yes, there's addiction. Yes, there's abuse. Yes, there's trafficking. Yes, there is some mental health. But the majority of people on the streets are just broken, looking for a new way to start. And so that's why we really are passionate about getting our facility open, so that we can be not the solution, but we want to be part of the solution, working together with Aid for Friends, with Family Services Alliance, with the Free Clinic, with the Crisis Center, all these different agencies. We can begin to offer a place where people can find hope and get stability. The beauty of our 6-month program, when they're done at the end, like in month 4, let's say Tim's in the program, I'm going to connect Tim with a life coach. And Tim's going to meet Ernie, who's his life coach. They'll build a relationship. And as they get done with graduation, when he's done, Ernie's going to commit to him to see him twice a month for up to a year and help just maintain his learning, help reset if anything needs to get reset. We haven't even started this program. We have 14 people signed up to be life coaches because we know that's what sustains what they've learned. If there's someone to walk with them and help them and encourage them and not knock them down when they fall, that's the beauty of what I love about this program. So we're here today to see if we can get some funding from the county to help continue the construction of our facility. Specifically, by the time this is a fall disbursement, if I understand that correctly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that would be allowing us to get into phase 2. Phase 1 is our food pantry, which we're finishing now. Phase 2 would be the emergency shelter space, getting that space open, getting our kitchen and our office spaces open so that we can begin to serve our community. So that's what our ask is for today.
So what's the ask amount?
I think it was $30,000.
30,000?
Yes.
That what we did last year, do you know?
No.
We've
Not given to us at all.
First time, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So if there's an additional incentive for first timers, you can add to that as well. That'd be good. Welcome new members. Here's your bonus.
Questions?
No.
No, I appreciate the information. They're well thought through
It's a project.
and a challenge.
It is. Well, and the other part of it too, if you don't mind me adding one more piece, is we know the impact that having a stable facility where folks can be for long term is a positive impact on the economic impact of our community. They're not going to be in the emergency room. They're not going to be in jail. They're going to be under care and facilities. So we're saving county and city dollars by not putting them in that program. All of this program is funded by grants. No federal, no state. It's all private foundation grants. All the dollars we've raised have all been from grants. 24% of our funding was from grants so far. The rest was this community, which was amazing to me. We just received a sizable gift in the mail Tuesday from someone I've never met. They haven't been to our facility. They haven't talked to me or any of my board members, and yet they said, we believe in this so much. Here's a nice 5-figure check, a nice 5-figure check. which is helpful because we'll get our sprinklers done. So we understand the long-term effects of this program as well. Obviously, if they graduate the program, I think I included this in the presentation, one of the measurements is their success rate. We'll evaluate that at 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. That life coach is going to be key to helping us maintain the growing, the learning, and the just sustainability of this program. So we're excited, but it's a lot of work.
Cool. Okay, anything else?
No,
We have a board member that hasn't said anything.
Yeah,
Have anything to
I
add?
wanted to say, have you ever been to the facility at all where Valley Mission is, or?
I played racquetball over there.
Yes.
That's part of like 100-pound water.
That's right, that's exactly right.
Walls come down?
Yeah, I think a few of those walls came down.
Might still be up.
Yeah, no, they're gone.
But I'd invite you to come over and see the building, because the framing has been done inside where all of the different places would be for people to meet, to have their sleeping, to do the clinic and that sort of thing. So this is well on its way to just being, dare I say, a blessing for Pocatello and for Bannock County. And so that's why at any time you want to see it, this isn't just a shot at the moon here. The moonshot is on its way to getting there. And so that's why we wanted to make sure the county knew about it, for one thing. But if you see this, you might gain a vision for what is going on there, and begin to appreciate the role that the facility will play in surrounding people, hopefully, with success. The trite thing that's said so much is that we're giving people not a handout, but a hand up. And that is really true. Valley Mission, though, that's what the goal is on that, is to do that.
So, real quick, Aid for Friends talked about people coming from out of state. They're seeing a lot of that. Are you kind of seeing something similar, or are you still seeing more local?
It's been a mixture. We've got right now the mixture that we're seeing in the encampments and the parking lots has been people from here. I think I've got the two I've seen that were from out of state were more transient. They were here for a week and they were gone, and they were just passing through. The ones we're continuing to see now are folks who, for whatever reason, they don't have an ID, or they've got a record, an outstanding warrant, or they're under the influence. They can't get into the shelter. So we've actually followed some of these folks for an entire year. There are some, and Tammy could have spoke to this as well. There are some in the summertime that choose not to go to the shelter. They just soon camp, and that's their way of living. We want to teach them there's a better way, obviously. But the majority of them that are coming in from out of state that we've encountered have stayed, except for those two. And the rest are right here from Pocatello, American Falls, and then we've got a couple from Blackfoot, Idaho Falls area just recently. And we've only been able to, with our street reach lately, been only the northern part of town. We haven't yet gone to the Meat Creek campgrounds, Scout Mountain. There'll be a lot of families up in there, as there are every year. So we're just beginning to spread out in the community. Year to date, we have connected with, I think the number was 54 individuals, not repeats, just 54 individuals, and there's a couple of repeats after that. And we are speaking with the Pocatello Police Department just last month. They're expecting the homeless population in Pocatello to double over the summertime, and that's coming from reports from Utah and Idaho, coming out of California, some issues, and so we're gearing up, but we're going to see those out-of-staters here pretty soon. And they would qualify for the program if they wanted to stay and get involved. Our other feeder will be Pocatello Women's Correctional Center. So when the gals are getting ready to leave the facility up there, we'll connect with them in month 2 before their departure, get their case management. We'll put a plan together, because our hope is that when they transition from the facility into a halfway house or our facility, it's seamless. We don't want to add one more level of trauma, because any change is another heightened level of trauma we don't want them to go through. So Janelle, the warden up there, and I are already planning on how to work those pieces together. So when we're ready to pull that trigger, we're ready to just make it smooth, seamless, and hopefully get the ladies set up for success.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you for
Okay.
what you do, and
Thank you, Commissioners, for your
beginning of
time.
our session, so we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sarah, Family Alliances, come on up.
So
Poor Carrie has lost her voice, so she's very nervous that she's going to have to answer questions. So
We'll make sure we ask a lot.
okay. Well, thank you for letting us come and visit with you today. My name is Sarah O'Banion, and I work for Family Services Alliance, and this is Carrie McEachran, and she also works for Family Services Alliance. She's our magical money person, which takes a lot of work, right? Can I just go ahead and share a little bit with you?
Yes, please.
Okay, awesome. Well, first of all, it's fun to come a little bit early because we get to hear from our partners and friends doing social services. And so as I was listening to the team from Aid for Friends, who are all of our friends, right? and the team from Valley Mission, Tim used to be our copy guy, right? So it's kind of fun for us to come and do stuff like this as we're also intimidated, right? Because we're but as I was thinking about that, one thing that was coming up for me is that there are a lot of social services in Bannock County. I think we are known as a county who social services and nonprofits get along with each other and work really hard to not duplicate services, but also to partner together so that people can get their needs met. So for instance, we don't have a big food pantry. We have a small food pantry for people to get by until Thursday when they can go to Valley Mission. We spend lots of time making referrals to Aid for Friends for specific kinds of housing funds. And then we have specific housing funds for folks who experience domestic violence. And so I just wanted to, it was sort of in my mind that although there are a lot of different programs, those programs work really hard to work together rather than step on each other's toes and do the same sorts of things. And so we are here today to talk a little bit about Family Services Alliance. And so first I just want to say thanks, right? You all have been incredibly supportive of victims of abuse. And I think that not only is that helpful to our budget, right? Like that's part of your talking about budgets today. But also when I can say to victims of abuse who part of the experience of being victimized with power and control is feeling like you're losing yourself, is feeling like you no longer matter as much as other humans. And so for me to be able to say, well, actually, our commissioners have been to our facilities. Our commissioners just came to an event for us around sexual. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I was so appreciative of that. I think that not only is that fiscal support incredibly valuable, but the message that is sent to survivors is incredibly impactful. Also, you provide us a home. So we're able to provide shelter, which is very different from Valley Mission, from SECA, from Bannock Youth Foundation, from Aid for Friends. Our shelter is specifically for people who are fleeing situations. So our shelter is very different. Aid for Friends is very in the community, right? Like there's a big sign in front of Aid for Friends. And I've gone to lots of groundbreakings as they built the new facilities. Our shelter is in an undisclosed location. That's because most of the people that we see are fleeing and are fearful that their offender might find them. And so again, that's sort of, there are two shelters, but those shelters provide very different purposes. There's a different clientele coming into those shelters. And you have given us support for many years. I think that's incredibly impactful. I was just out last night with the county coroner, who I have a lot of respect for, who serves on our Southeast Idaho Domestic and Sexual Violence Task Force. And he called me and asked that I would come and talk with some family members as he was doing his role. And so I think that our ability to connect with the county, we spend a lot of time with law enforcement officers. We actually have a board member who just joined our board of directors. We like to have lived experience on our board. And so one of our board members has experienced very severe domestic violence. At that event, Living the Cause is what we called it, there was a law enforcement officer from Bannock County there, Trent Smith, who I love. And our board member said, he helped me many years ago. For them to come together and see each other in a very different way right now. So she experienced a lot of hurt, a lot of shame, a lot of pain. And now she's in a position to support people that were in her position. She's in a position to talk to us about what survivors need in a really impactful way, right? She has that experience she can share with us. And yet she's also representing our organization and spending that time with our law enforcement officers. That law enforcement officer changed her life for the better, saved her life, and now 5-10 years later, they get to see each other, right? I love that. That makes me incredibly grateful to law enforcement and the work that they do. And I know that law enforcement spends a lot of time with county commissioners, and that support that comes from all of you is incredibly important. We are hoping that you will continue to support our program with $10,000, which is what you provided to us last year. We use those dollars specifically for our on-call resources. So similar to me responding on site last night with someone, we respond to a variety of cases. Law enforcement officers will call us, and then we will respond to someone's home when there's a victim of abuse. So that can look like helping someone get into shelter because there's a standoff in the community right now. I see that is a domestic situation. So law enforcement could call us, and we could support that person getting to safety. I just saw that on the news this morning. And so law enforcement can also call us if there's a situation where someone just needs some information about the court process. We get to spend a lot of time here in this building because we have a partnership grant with you. We are a part of the Improving Criminal Justice Response grant that Bannock County has. We're one of the few that have a specific grant to fund the domestic violence court and the services that happen within that. And we provide victim impact services. And so, similar to how you heard a little bit about people sort of being next to someone. What I find when I go to court, so I was on jury duty one time, right? And I was super nervous because I'm a super nervous person. And I didn't know where to stand, and I didn't know where to check in, and I was worried that I would have to go to the bathroom, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know who to talk to. And I was super nervous. And I go to the courthouse all the time. And so, but I don't do jury duty, right? So I didn't know that whole process. So I was super nervous. And also, they were speaking words that I didn't understand because I don't speak jury duty language, right? So for our advocates to be in the courtroom with folks who are applying for civil protection orders, who are getting ready to testify against their offenders, who are asking for modifications, asking for child safety, for figuring out a way to co-parent when there has been domestic and sexual violence. It is really helpful to have someone stand next to them and say, here's what you can expect next, here's what's going to happen, here's why. Sometimes I hear from survivors, law enforcement officers ask me lots of repetitive questions. I think they don't believe me. And so we can give some perspective on why they in fact do believe you, but they need a clean, there's a reason for why roles do what they do. And our role is to help people figure out the mystifyingness of all the systems that often interact with survivors. And so we get to be a part of many county related kinds of things, but we don't get to come and see you this often. And so we're happy to do so. Do you have questions or concerns I can answer?
I have one.
Sure.
In your thing, you mentioned that you deal with not a lot, but you deal with human trafficking. How much of that do you see?
So human trafficking, I think Carl mentioned human trafficking, that sometimes people experience trafficking. So, excuse me, I think trafficking looks a little bit different than it's presented in popular media. We don't often see people who are let me say what we do see rather than what we don't see. What we often see, especially in domestic violence situations, is abusers believing that they own the bodies and the lives of their victims. So they will often use their victims for something. So they will say, you belong to me and I need access to drugs, for instance. So I'm going to sell your body to gain access to drugs. And so sometimes we see family members or abusive people within a family trafficking or selling other humans. We see a lot of, we see a little bit of like work and other kinds of trafficking. Most of the time, the kind of trafficking that we see has to do with sexual violence, and also has to do with someone who was a trusted person in their life at one point. And so that's different than what we see on media, right? Like that's not someone going from one country to another country and then being held prisoner, right? But it's a form of prison. It's a form of prison with no walls, but the emotional toll that is taken is incredibly impactful. What I often see is that people come in identifying as primary sexual assault. So they say to me, they come to the hospital and they say, I need a sexual assault examination because I've been sexually assaulted. As we talk and we spend time together, what I learn is that sexual violence that occurred had to do with some form of trafficking. So someone forced this person to have sex against their will for something else or for someone else. Does that make sense? Yeah. Thank you for that question.
Well, thanks for that ray of sunshine. I shouldn't have asked the question.
I know, right? I should have brought some like snacks or something.
Popped up a couple of times today, so I was just curious because I again thought that like you said, going from one country to another.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually do see a little bit of that, but I see more ritualized abuse and trafficking of humans just within people that, I was watching a sexual abuse prevention video. So we provide sexual assault prevention services, but our insurance requires that we watch a sexual abuse prevention video, right? Which I think is great because that reminds me of things. And one of the things that kept coming out in that video is that the general public believes that sexual offenders are scary people jumping out of bushes that you don't know. But the truth of that is that sexual offenders are people that we know and trust in some way. And so that's our role as community members and as gatekeepers to children's safety and to vulnerable folks' safety.
Well, thank you for your jobs. I know it is not easy.
Thank you for your support.
Questions?
Other questions?
Well, as you sat and you listen to all these that we go through,
Yeah.
and there's certain ones to me that I wish we could just give a lot more to,
Yeah.
and this is definitely one of them.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that because that helps me be able to talk to survivors about how important they are. When I come to see you, I often invite you to our event, Celebration of Voices. We just finished invitations yesterday, so you should be getting them soon.
Good.
I would say I could spend for like 12 hours talking to you about Family Services Alliance, just like everyone else that you'll see today can talk about their organizations and the people they serve. But Celebration of Voices is important to me because it's survivors talking rather than myself talking. And so I would love to see you join us there and learn a little bit from our survivors. They love it. People tell me, one time I had an event that actually was the first year. This is our 10th year of Celebration of Voices. The first year, our local prosecutor came. And it was incredibly impactful to the person who was speaking that a prosecutor listened to her. That was very meaningful. And that was a prosecutor from Bannock County that listened to her and that then went and spoke to her after and how much that meant to her. So thank you for being supportive of this work.
Cool. Kim?
I'm so glad you guys are doing what you do and we do what we
Thank
do.
you. It's a weird thing to say that this is fun work.
We all need to be in our own lane. You
We
guys-
do.
yeah,
You're right.
you guys
I
are
don't want to
great.
deal with all this like tough decision making you got to do.
I appreciate all the work you guys do.
I appreciate each of you. Thank you for being here, and I love this team over here too. Like
So do we.
they're like your silent, amazing folks. Right?
Thank you.
So, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Get better.
I think I can hear like sort of some whispering. Some people don't know if they should come in. Do you want me to check in the hall and see if there's anyone else, or are you running a little ahead? Maybe.
We're just
5
fine.
minutes ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Get them in. Get them in and get them out.
Rock and roll.
Okay. I thought I could hear like sort of some.
And that's Kim. I mean, she works with them so much, so close. We have some good employees.
Yeah.
Cassidy,